As you can see, things are a little different today with Inside the Rapper Studio. It's going to be a little noisy where I am, so I'd much rather have a more serene area such as out here. Episode 94? Jeez Louise, 94. Episode 94 of Inside the Rapper Studio. We have a guest already popped in, Braaiinfood. We're going to be talking about a few things such as progress being a DJ, talking about working with brushes and blues, talking about having a golden ear for beats, things like that. I might as well just jump right in, honestly. I was going to do the whole update thing, but I'm pretty sure you guys know what's going on with Swayze hard enough. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, let's get this little baby started. Episode 94 of Inside the Rapper Studio. Of course, I'm your host, Score Swayze, and today we have a very, 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 very special guest in the building. One of the hard-working DJs in the area, works a lot with blushes and brews, and just has a golden ear for mixes all together.
Aww.
So I need everybody to drop hearts, drop likes, drop comments for the one, the only, Braaiinfood.
Hi.
I don't have my applause button. Yeah, I don't have my
That's
applause
okay.
button today, so
It's
like
fine.
Inside the Rapper Studio unplugged, essentially.
Yeah.
How's it going today?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain. Got another day on this planet to make some things happen, you know. So
That's
with
good.
every episode, yeah. So with every episode of Inside the Rapper Studio, there's an origin story told from the bottom of the screen. So could you tell us all how everything got started for the DJ we all know and love as Braaiinfood?
Okay, so basically, I have a friend. His name is Jacob Marley, and he knew that I had like DJ equipment that I had never really used because I never performed. So he basically told me one day, because he asked me would I play a blush and bruise. So he told me one day, he was like, "You're playing blush and bruise on this date." So I think it was like 3 months. It was like 3 months in advance. So it was like October 2016, and so I knew that I was going to play. So I got together my playlist, and had it not been for Jacob Marley, I don't think that I would have took the initiative to actually start DJing. So he really,
What is that?
I always wanted to do it. Like I had been sitting on it for so long, but me, I have a tendency to procrastinate, and I'm a really like shy person, so I don't really put myself out there like that. So he honestly gave me the push that I needed to start DJing.
Gotcha. So what's it like working within pretty much a profession of being a disc jockey, being a DJ, with kind of the shyness that's attached to like the personality? Because it almost seems like it's a job that's really fun to do. It's really nice to, say make music, make these spins and things like that. And yet, like, having that distance towards people as, like, someone that's introverted.
Well, it is definitely very difficult for me because I also suffer with anxiety. So being able to be on a stage and play music and have people dance is so different from, I guess, who I am normally. But I just want people, like, I just want people to be happy, and I want them to, I guess, leave everything in their day-to-day life behind if they come to my parties and just release and have fun. And I kind of I guess you know how performers have alter egos. So I kind of think of it as having an alter ego where like who I am as a person is separate from who I am as a DJ. Like I'm a DJ, I come here to do this job. I come here to make people dance. I come here to make people feel good. and I just separate that from myself. So I kind of put on a mask, I guess, of a different person. I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense, especially with like, dealing with other people and things like that, and just like really having to like expand your energy a lot. As an
Yeah.
introvert like that, it can just leave you just exasperated. So putting on that different persona when you're on stage, putting on that different persona when you're on the ones and twos, it makes total sense. What I guess I should ask, how has that different persona helped you when you're on stage?
Well, I I guess it's helped me in the sense that like everything that I think that I can't do as Morgan as myself, Braaiinfood or my former name Lock Spice is different from that. Like Lock Spice has the confidence to go on stage and play music. Lock Spice has the confidence to change the vibe in a room. Um, I still suffer with feeling nervous, but just seeing everybody having a good time and everybody dancing, and when I dropped that one song that everybody's been waiting to hear and seeing their reaction to it, because it's like all at once, like you see the realization on everybody's face and they're like, oh wow, I've been waiting to hear that. Or even when I play like a song that somebody may have forgot about, like older songs, and seeing how excited people get, um, that just my alter ego, I guess it really helps that. It really helps me with that.
Gotcha. I wanted to go back to the early days of the early DJ we all knew as Lock Spice. What inspired the name of it? I mean, obviously the hair, but what inspired the name of Lock Spice and having that persona as Lock Spice while being on stage?
Well, I always thought the Spice Girls were like really eclectic, and I like how they were they were kind of marketed to be like different types of women. So I thought of it as, I guess, me being able to bring like a whole bunch of genres together and mesh it well. So it's kind of like a spice of things. And of course, I had locks. So I thought it sounded pretty cool. I thought that was like the perfect, I guess, stage name for me.
It does make sense because, like, I think the first time I saw like a flyer with like Lock Spice on it, I'm like, wait, ain't that Morgan? And then like I
Yeah.
saw you actually like spinning this shit, like, oh shit, that's actually fucking
Yeah.
Morgan.
Yeah,
And the,
cause I had been Lock Spice for a minute on social media, like maybe like 2 years before I even DJ'd. But yeah.
so like, I guess how does it feel to have that control over the crowd just off of music that you want to play to them?
It feels powerful. It feels like I'm bringing them into my world and how I think and how I hear music. It makes me feel good. I mean, I really just love hearing um, I love hearing people being so excited. I love people coming up to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, I loved your set. You played this, you played that." I was just like, "Wow, I can't believe I heard the song." I think at one of my shows, I played like, I think Lil Bow Wow's first song, and somebody came up to me and was like, "I didn't know that I needed to hear a Bow Wow song in 2019, but you did that." Like, so it's just stuff like that. It just makes me really happy. And honestly, like DJing has brought, I guess, has changed my life, honestly, in terms of like how I see things and how I see the world. So I'm very grateful for it, for that.
Do you mind elaborating on that? Because that's a very interesting take for taking on DJing and just having that perception shift of like how you see the world behind your ones and twos on Serato.
Okay, so basically before I actually got out there and DJ, I really suffered with depression a lot, and just not having the belief in myself that I could, do things. So DJing really changed my perspective that if I put my mind to something, I can do it. Because I never thought that I could get on the stage and play The Crown, for example. So it really helped me with that. It helped me to believe in myself, and it kind of gave me a push to do other things that I kind of been, I guess, dragging my feet to do.
Gotcha. I also wanted to talk to you about like the different venues that you have played because you mentioned like how you like hit the crown with like your set and you've pretty much just like taken I guess taking force of like what you usually do as a DJ and just like pretty much making it your own thing. So, how would you describe going through different venues and just still like shutting it down?
Well, the Crown is definitely like my favorite place to play because it's so many different people, and you walk into the Crown. I was about to say the Crown. You
Plan.
walk
Oh,
into the Crown. You walk into the Crown and you see every type of person. So it's not just the same thing. I play other venues and I've liked it, but the Crown is kind of like home to me. Like when I walk in there, I feel at home. Um, Playing other venues is fun. I will say I don't think I've played as big as the venue that I have at the Crown somewhere else, but I just like the Crown. They're very accepting of anything that you play, almost anything. But if you go to like other venues, you have to figure out the vibe of the crowd. Like so you kind of just have to, I guess, play it by ear, or if watch people's reactions to see if they're moving to a song or not. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm glad that you actually said play it by ear because the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was having that ear as a DJ. Because a lot of the times people don't realize as DJs, some of the times it's really by play. Whereas though, like
Yeah.
you really have your set and you know what you're gonna play, but you really have to guess where the crowd is at the time and then just go straight from there. So, what was your best experience playing it by ear and having it right on cue for the crowd?
Um, Honestly, I think, and I'm bringing it back to the Crown again. I think usually, okay, so usually when I figure out the music that I play for a venue, I usually start with like 10 songs. So when I'm at home, I create a set and I'll come up with like 10 songs, and then I'll have like another playlist of like, I guess, new music that I got. So I start off with those 10 songs. I see how, you know, that flows. And then I'll see how the crowd responds to it. So I'll just go under different genres and see if they like 90s R&B, okay, I'm gonna play that. Or if they want to hear hip hop, new hip hop, I'll play that. That's pretty much how I do. I mean, I would say a lot of people love to hear like the older stuff, like the music that they grew up on. Even if I take it back and play like 70s soul, like if I play the Gap Band or something like that, people just respond very well to it, and then you see the whole crowd singing. So
You tend to have a really diverse ear when it comes to not just like what you usually listen to on the daily because like that's what you post, but when it comes to like your DJing skills and having that golden ear because it's like very diverse. It can jump from any genre to like from 70s as you described to even some like Pharrell produced stuff, even to some like straight up like grungy stuff. You know what I mean? And I wanted to ask you how is it kind of jumping in those different bags within different sets?
well, it makes me really excited because I want to play what the crowd wants to hear, but I also want to play what I like. So if I can sneak in like maybe like a Fall Out Boy song, for example, I I play something like that. If I can sneak it in and see how they respond, I'm like, oh, okay, well I can do something else that they may like. I just see what sounds good to me. I like a whole bunch of different music. Um, Honestly, being a DJ has made my taste even more diverse and more open. Like I'm very open to new music too. And before DJing, I really didn't listen to a lot of new music, but I just I like what I like. I mean, if something sounds good, I try not to put labels on the music that I like. If it sounds good, I'm a listen. Like I could listen, or I could play like the Rolling Stones song, and I could jump to like a Jay-Z song or something like that. It's just whatever sounds good to me that I want people to know about. Because, you know, if they hear a song that they never heard before, they're going to be like, oh, okay, I like this song. I'm going to add this or to my playlist. And then they'll come up to me and be like, hey, what was that song you played? So I just try to do that when I play.
Gotcha. What new song? I want to say new songs. What new genres or new artists that you've discovered while DJing and like kind of diversifying your crate, so to speak?
Oh man, it's so many. It's so many. Ooh. I actually, when I listen to new music, I'll put it on a playlist and I'll come back to it. Gosh, I wish I could pull it up right now. Let me think of somebody. Gosh, that's so hard. I'm trying to think. It's so much that I listen to. I'm trying to think of like the last music I was playing. Oh, deep cuts. So, for example, this is not a new artist, but a lot of, I guess, mainstream artists, like they'll have deep cuts that are popular, but you don't really know about. So I was going through Brandy's discography like a month ago, and she has so many deep cuts that I never knew about, like from I think the Full Moon album, and I was like, wow, this album
Yes.
is really good, and I didn't know, and I would have never known that if I wasn't looking for music. Like I'll go through artists, their whole discographies, and I'll find songs that I never knew was there. And oh man, it's so much. I have so many tracks on my computer, so it's really hard to pick one.
I'm actually glad that you said deep cuts because like not a lot of DJs do like the B sides at all. They just go straight for the singles and just hope that gets a crowd reaction. Do you usually get like a solid crowd reaction just for playing like deep cuts?
Um, yes, I will say that if it's not a full crowd, I feel more comfortable playing deep cuts because if it's packed, then people want to hear the hits, like they want to dance. So, um, sometimes I've had people come up to me and be like, hey, what was that song that you played? I like it or whatever. So I have had that, but sometimes you might play a deep cut and then people look at you like, okay, like this sounds good, but like I want to hear Migos or whatever or Roddy Ricch, So it I guess it depends, but I don't have a problem with sneaking deep cuts in my sets at all.
Gotcha. So first of all, I have to give you a huge shout out for even joining me on this live and giving me a great interview so far. I'm gonna give a few shouts out to everybody that's in the live right now. Huge shouts out to Ivy the G. Shouts out to Big Graffy in the building. Huge shouts out to Graffiti Tech. Shouts out to Tom Castles. Kasha, Kasha online. We got Rusty up in here. We got Webb's Legacy, Tribe Called Flex, Sammy Sosa. Oh, we got Pack Little Live in there. Okay, I see you. Braaiinfood. All right.
I'm
Next
actually
question.
binge watching Moesha, by the way. But yeah.
I do want to get back into Moesha like really bad, but oh man, that's gonna take a lot of time off my head.
Yeah.
So the next question I had to ask for you is your influences when it comes to DJing. Do you have any influences that kind of like you look up to and like kind of like sharpen your skills towards?
Yes. Honestly, most of my influence come from local DJs. Honestly, I watch some, like, I guess DJs with bigger platforms, but the people that inspired me the most were the DJs that were making club mixes. Especially when I was in like my early 20s. Even Graffiti Tech, like his club mixes that he makes, and hearing them, I'm just like, wow, I want to do something like that. I want to play something like that. Or Matic 808, his projects I really loved when he was doing K Swift, like all local people. And even when I go out and play, like, and I see how other DJs play it, and I see their technique or I see their equipment that they're using, I just listen and see what they play. I love Jacob Marley's sets, Alien Nude, Ducky, Dynamo. I love watching all of them play. I love it. It's just very inspirational to see them get in the groove and do that thing.
There's a word that's coming up in my head when you were describing like all the local artists, and the word that comes up to mind is student. Do you consider yourself a good student of the game where you can just learn from anybody and learn from anything and apply it to yourself?
Yes, I do consider myself, because even my equipment is a little bit different than other DJs. Like I started, like when I started, because I have new equipment now, but when I started, I didn't even have turntables, right? I was using something else, so I was able to adapt like what I hear and do it myself by practicing or watching tutorials. I've had a couple of people show me. The person that's helped me a lot is Graffiti Tech. Like right before my show, he came over to my place, and we went over like different techniques, and he really helped me with that. So I'm very appreciative of him for that. Yeah.
Huge shouts out to Big Graffy in the building. Hopefully he's still in here and didn't just skirt off like he usually does. Uh, Also, when it comes to the local scene, when like you're learning from these people, do you try to build a relationship with all these influences?
Um. Yes, I do, but honestly, I'm really terrible with that. I remember me and you having a conversation about like networking at the Crown, and I remember you telling me that you see this like a job, like you know what I mean. So I speak to people, I say hi, but honestly, I should be better with that. But I'm just naturally an introvert, so it's kind of, I have to step outside of myself to be in that mindset. After quarantine is over and we get back to our regular life, hopefully, I would like to do more networking and more interacting with people. And this quarantine has gave me a new appreciation for networking and building uh, connections and things of that nature.
What have you learned about networking in general after quarantine? Because this is a time where, as though everyone's separate, nobody's really going towards like events or anything like that, and nobody's like in face to face, where as though you can actually like talk to these people and get to know them. So, what have you learned about networking in this new age of technology?
Well, I've learned that we all have to be creative and create like a pathway for ourselves. I've only done one Instagram live since quarantine, but I notice how different people are coming up with different things. Like I know Al Rogers, he goes around the city and he performs and he streams it. So it's just giving me like a new perspective of how to like, I guess, uh market myself and get myself out there. Like, you know, during with any situation you can create a way to make things work for you. So it's definitely showing me that.
What would you say would you apply that you've learned through this new age of networking? Whereas though like you're not usually at the Crown, whereas though you can just easily talk to Graffy or you can easily talk to Ducky and like get some tips and stuff from them. So does it make it easier for you now that everybody's like separated and not at one place?
Hmm, that's a good question. Well, actually, I do think that it makes it easier. It's easier to talk to people when you're not face to face. So I would say it definitely makes it easier.
Gotcha. Because
Um,
I was figuring, like, as a person that's introverted as myself, like, I definitely don't want to be in somebody's face, like, at the Crown while it's like bass booming and things like that.
Yeah, that's so awkward because you can't even hear them. You're like, what? What did you say? Huh? So it's definitely easier to communicate, I guess, through DMs or text messages.
Yeah. So another thing that I want to ask you about is your work with Blushes and Brews. You spoke earlier about how you've worked with a lot with Jacob Marley, the founder of Blushes and Brews, and working with him a lot. What is it like working with this venue? Not venue. I would say venue. What's it like working with this event?
Well, Blush and Bruise is my favorite. It's been such a long time since there was a show. But Jacob is very regimented. He has like spreadsheets that he does where he keeps up with like all the performers that performed. He's very good with times and being there. He's never late. He's working with him. I really appreciate it because when you work with other people, they may not be as organized. So when you come there, they may give you a time, but that time could be pushed back 2 hours, for example, because it's not as organized. But Jacob is very organized. He's very serious, and he has a vision for how he wants things to be. So I really appreciate him for that, and he works so hard. He tries to be accommodating to people. Yeah, he's awesome to work with.
Gotcha. Have you learned anything in terms of like curating your own shows through working with Blushes and Brews or working with Jacob himself?
Definitely so. I actually considered coming up with my own show, but it's like the work. Okay, so when you have a show, the actual show, like nobody knows everything that went into it to get to that point. So you could have people dropping out or people having an issue the day of, so you kind of have to scramble to fill that spot. So it can be very stressful, and I've definitely learned how to, I guess, weather those storms when they come by seeing like everything that he went through with Blush and Bruise, and coming out with merch and zines and t-shirts, mixes, all of that. He honestly made like Blush and Bruise a product, a brand. So that was really cool to see, and it gave me ideas of my future show. Like, okay, I need a catchy name. I need to do this. I need to do that, and it definitely gave me a lot of ideas. But it's also like a big responsibility because you don't want your name attached to anything that's whack.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that one.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like the last show from Blushes and Brews before COVID-19 and all the shutdowns happened, did you guys ever talk about doing anything digital for Blushes and Brews?
Well, I know he still does the playlist. I don't know how often he does it now, but he was doing it for a while, even after the last show. He was trying to keep that going, but I haven't really talked to him about another show. It's just a lot of work, and it requires so much time. So it's hard to do. It's hard for one person or two people or to do all of that. So maybe in the future. I'm really that's what I want. I would like Blush and Bruce to come back.
Gotcha. Do you feel as though like you could do something yourself when it comes to like the online mixes and things like that? Because a lot of like shows, programs, any ideas that come from like the digital world have been getting sprouted up, such as Ducky Donovo, for instance. She does the interviews with the like club DJs and things like that. So have you thought of doing something like that?
I haven't thought of doing interviews, but I have thought of like mixing live. I've been trying to figure out ways to like put myself out there. I see a lot of DJs like they do they put videos on Instagram or IGTV. So I have considered doing that. I want my setup to be right. I want to have the right lights and the right sound. So I do see a lot of people doing that. Like even I did a show like a month back for it was DJ Domo's Girl of World Instagram page. So just seeing how she curated that was just amazing, and she's constantly thinking of new ways to, I guess, work or put other DJs on.
Got you.
And there's also people that DJ like every week at the same time. So I think that's really amazing.
I love how we've been talking about these two people that just joined the live for a good 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and just joined after we talked about it.
Yeah, I see. Jacob
So
and Ducky. Hi.
huge shouts out to Ducky Donovan, huge shouts out to Jacob Marley. We were just having a whole discussion about like Blushes and Brews, the brand behind it, also talking about like pretty much all the energy it takes to build up something like that and just have everything like hit all on the sixes, whereas though like everything's going right. also talking about like digital programming, such as like with your interview series that you're doing, Ducky, that's if you're still in here, such as like walking down the avenue, interviewing different like club DJs and things like that. So yeah, huge shouts out to both of you guys. Huge shouts out to everybody else that's in the live right now. Of course,
That's out.
Josh, PMA. We got of course Graphy, all these folks. Another question I had to ask is, we all know Braaiinfood as the DJ, but do we know Braaiinfood as the producer?
Um, I've been thinking about that. I was actually, you know what, I really do want to make music. Man, when it comes to making music, it's different from mixes because I guess I'm kind of nervous of, I guess, perception of it, or I want it to be perfect. I'm like kind of a perfectionist, but I am considering that. I practice every now and then. I would like to make like club mixes or remixes of songs. So that's something that I'm putting out there. I'm going to be working on that this year. So along with everything else I have going on, I would like to put out my own version of things.
Gotcha. Do you feel as though you would have like an influence when it comes to production? Because some people may or may not know that you're a huge Tyler fan and huge like Pharrell fan and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
What all those like sounds and influences would like kind of like carve out your sound that you would produce, or would you want to take a new route?
They definitely influenced me. I would want to have like my own sound. I would still have to fine tooth all of that. So I can't say it would be on those amazing producers level, but I would take inspiration from them and other people that I hear. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, last question I had for Braaiinfood: what is next for the DJ, and what is next for the future producer?
Well, I definitely want to put out like I guess Instagram videos to just get my name out there. I would like to do like a monthly playlist, and hopefully when everything opens back up, I can get like a residency and perform more. And yeah, that's about it.
Gotcha. Well, huge shouts out to you for giving me such a solid interview. I really do appreciate all the time that you took out of this, because I tried to organize this, I believe, for like it wasn't Producers Week, it was Wheels of Steel Week, but the schedule didn't like really like happen for us. But I am glad that I still got to like get this interview out before season 1 was over. So
I
thank you.
appreciate you asking me very much.
I don't sweat it. You knew you had a spot on this show. Don't sweat it. So, with that being said, do you have any last words, any last promotions, any last propaganda for the people?
Everybody just keep doing your thing. I should be dropping another playlist very soon, so be on the looks for that. And I hope everybody has a good night.
Oh, simple as that. All right. So, coming up next on Inside the Rapper Studio tomorrow, we have Sydney J. Allen, photographer extraordinaire. We're going to be talking about pretty much the upstarts of things left. People always leave. Not always, but like that's like the third person I left in the middle. Not that bad or anything like that. But we're going to be talking about getting work done on the LED screen, also talking about photojournalism, and also talking about working with inversion. That's going to be really fun. Then I'm not joining you live. Get out my face. Huge shouts out to everybody that's been on the show, whether it's 1 minute, 1 second, or the entire episode. Huge shouts out to IG for not screwing this up, because I always expect it, but you guys always blow me my expectations out the water. So, huge shouts out to you guys. Yeah, so from your host, Score F. Swayze, and our wonderful guest of episode 94 of Inside the Rapper Studio, Braaiinfood, once again, thank you very much for even joining me on today. I would like to say thank you very much, and as always, wash your hands, wear a mask, and stay in the house.